to MINDSHOCK. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and you are listening to another Flat Earth logical analysis. This time, it is the one and only Dr. SHIVA Ayyadurai versus Flat Earth Dave. Apologies for the glitches on the stream. I have no idea what is up with YouTube. Sometimes when you hit the go live button, it doesn't work. The go live button disappeared this time around, so there was nothing to even hit. Oh man, quite the journey here on YouTube. As always, if you enjoy the MINDSHOCK podcast, want to help logic and reason return to a world where it's quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do good priority for case topic logical analysis, co-podcast requests. You could also be a guest on the podcast. Depending on your tier, questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comments section. If you're not getting the updates, you could also become a free patron. There is a free tier, and you will still get all of the updates. So this is a very interesting debate slash conversation slash I have no idea what this is. I've skipped through it, so it's not 100% blind. I have to say, I was a pretty big fan of Shiva Ayyadurai. I mean, this guy was speaking some just basic common sense during the events of 2020 plus. And yeah, it was okay. Well, we'll go through it piece by piece in typical MINDSHOCK fashion with logic and reason at the forefront. But this is definitely not your usual flat Earth debate. This isn't your usual go for it. We're gonna dissect exactly what this is logically, and keeping in mind psychological factors. I always advocate for not only the use of logic and reason, but the study of psychology, so you understand why the logicality or illogicality presented is presented as such. Welcome everyone in the chat. We got Wendy Howard, Lord Zed, Billy Labadie, Chin Chin, Heracles, Clark Rice, South to West. Some people keep mentioning Justin Johnson. What happened to Justin Johnson? He hasn't been around in a little bit. He was almost on every stream a while ago. Let me know if the audio is good. The stream appears to be working now. All the buttons have magically reappeared, so we should be good to go. Clark Rice says, trying to raise my 5 mil for the US gold card. Flat Bob, I see your message. Are my messages not coming through? I see your previous message. Let's go logic. And the previous one, how's everyone doing? Were they not? Did they not show up before? Huh. That is kind of weird. Now I can see you now. Flat Bob, I can see you now. That is kind of weird. I don't remember seeing it before. Oh, did you? Oh, I might have had it in top chat. So YouTube automatically puts chat into top chat instead of live chat. You have to manually switch it to live chat to get all messages. So sometimes people's messages are not going to appear in top chat, but everybody should be appearing in live chat. Yeah, Flat Bob, I think I might have had it in top chat originally, so I might not have seen everybody. Welcome, Saddle Bum. Heracles says, the reaction to the final experiment disappointed Justin Johnson as it did me. Okay, I need to do a stream on that. I think it's finally time. I just never understood the hoopla over the final experiment. You're watching, so assuming they really did go. So Austin, because I asked Austin, he said he has documentation of all their travel. So, because some people were saying that they didn't go. I mean, it's not, is it really that implausible? I mean, I've actually known people that have taken that cruise down there and, you know, walked around whatever piece of whatever. So, yeah, but wasn't Justin Johnson around for a bit after the final experiment, or he meant the reaction by flat earthers just chastising Austin? Is that what he meant? I saw some weird stuff. I don't want to get too much into it here, but I will be doing a stream covering all of that. For the people that don't want to wait, is it really beyond the realm of plausibility that there's some kind of holographic activity going on? I mean, do people forget about Operation Bluebeam or Project Bluebeam? I always bring that up. I mean, do people actually think it would be impossible for scientists working, or alleged scientists working in bases in Antarctica for decades, to come up with some kind of sun simulator? Is that a complete impossibility? Number one. Number two, if our entire Earth is some kind of planetarium, who knows how it works? Again, I mean, you know, narcissistic goofs hallucinate to know how everything works, but yeah, it's weird. CZLD says, I think they went, just shady behavior and video was presented. Something wasn't right. Yeah, the video definitely looks weird. It definitely looks weird, but that doesn't necessarily mean they were in on some kind of con. Although I have no idea what happened to Jaren. That's a subject for another time. Because how would... It's just so weird. Like, Austin... I watched Austin's last... or parts of Austin's last few streams. He was basically making fun of the goofs who were saying, like, how does a sun making a movement in the sky completely invalidate all of the body of work being discussed prior? Like, just the basic math of curvature or anything. Literally, the other 99% of everything being discussed in flat Earth cosmology, that all goes out the window because something happened in the sky. I mean, just the level of goofery regarding the final experiment in the first place. Like, why would people put blind faith? And it wasn't even an experiment, right? Like, where are the controls? Where are the manipulated variables? I mean, it's not an experiment. You're going there to make an observation. So even the title kind of gives it away, the level of goofery. The level of goofery. Christopher Allen, welcome. Bill Labadie says they got the Rogan suitcase deal. Boys. There was definitely a noticeable change with Rogan when he was the moon landing crusader, and then after the fact. All right. So if does anybody have any other questions specifically about Shiva or Flat Earth Dave here as we discuss this? Because we're gonna dive in a minute here. Any other questions? But yeah, I'll be doing a video on the final experiment, which isn't even an experiment, on what it does or doesn't prove, and the shadiness around it, and the behavior after the fact. I mean, so who's familiar with Flat Earth Jake? He was doing a lot of football videos. He's been attacking Jaren for a long time within the Flat Earth sphere. The flatosphere, you know, I'm talking about personalities within Flat Earth. Heracles says, I don't think Jaren was a plant, but I think he wanted to be a popular YouTuber more than he was a flat earther. Yeah, but it doesn't even make any sense, because he threw his own logic out the window, because even if it wasn't some kind of hologram, like, let's say the sun really did do that in Antarctica. If you haven't verified where is Antarctica in relation to all the other continents, like, you haven't actually verified any of the variables. So what would that prove? I mean, it's just weird. It's just weird. I mean, Jaren... See, I call a lot of people dumb. I've never called Jaren dumb. Like, one of the first debates I've seen was Jaren against Sartain, that goof Sartain, the current reigning, defending Dunning-Kruger champ, based on the old MINDSHOCK logical analysis system. Based on the old system, he's still the champ. Jaren was in there with some really, really logical points. I mean, there's no way he's that level of dummy as to think a movie, like, let's assume it was real. Like, let's, just for the sake of argument, let's say there was no hologram and they weren't in on some kind of con. Let's assume it was all organic and it happened the way they claimed. How would that have anything to do with Jaren's countless thousands of hours of discussing flat Earth and all the observations and mathematical, like, how does that go out the window just because something in the sky did something? So there is an issue with Jaren. I don't know what the issue is, but there's definitely some kind of an issue there. Like, he's not that dumb. So if who said the suitcase? Who made the comment about the suitcase? Billy Labadie. Is that the correct pronunciation? Is it Labadie or Labadie? Labadie. Labadie? Labadie. Or we'll just call him Billy. So if he just got the suitcase deal, that makes sense. But for him to just magically go full retard, that doesn't make any sense. All right, so let's let's get started here.
All right, Dave. So what's the goal of this discussion?
The goal of this discussion is to open your mind to some questions that you may have never known that you had, and to point out some things that you assume to be true that are clearly not true. I mean, we're taught that we live on a ball. Have you ever questioned it? Have you ever? No, you haven't. You were told before you had the ability to think. You were told by your teachers. There was a globe in front of your classroom. Sesame Street had astronauts on it and globes on it. And
well, let me ask you one thing. So the experiment that they did in Antarctica, maybe we should just start describing that.
Okay, cool. So the sound appears to be working well. Like I said, YouTube's just been acting up like crazy. But okay, so apparently everything works. So I also forgot to mention, Shiva Ayyadurai invented email. So this is no dummy. This is no dummy. This isn't like just a random scientism priest goof who just, followed orders from above. Shiva Ayyadurai is no dummy. Not to mention he's pretty anti-establishment in a lot of areas. Now, there is some debate. I forgot which episode I went over this on. But I did talk about... So he was one of two people who invented email. So there was another guy who supposedly... I mean, they were kind of in competition with each other. But anyway... This is no dummy. And this is not, a random scientism cultist bootlicker. And, yeah, South to West, I'm going to address that in a second. So, South to West said, notice how he jumps right away to the Antarctica experiment. And you are correct in putting experiment in quotations because you would think he would know what an experiment is. But, and this is another fascinating aspect we're going to get into. Shiva Ayyadurai is obviously a very intelligent individual. And he's not a scientism cultist bootlicker. He's not. So that's what makes... Like, I was so interested in listening to this discussion, debate, conversation, whatever you want to call it, just because of who he is. I mean, this guy's an anti-establishment powerhouse. Like, he's not a go-along-with-the-crowd bootlicker, like the typical, quackademics or, non-quackademics that Flat Earth Dave usually talks to. Oh, Big Pine Sailing. Yeah, you didn't know that he invented email? So he was one of two guys who supposedly invented email in parallel. Now, obviously, the military probably had something similar before him, but... Again, he was smart enough to develop his own version of email. Oh, you never heard of him? Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, he's like anti-GMO, anti-certain medical treatments. Leave it at that. Seabass516 says, I think Shiva is a plant. And anyone else think it's funny Flat Earth Dave makes FED as an acronym? Oh man, that's kind of funny. Are you saying you think Flat Earth Dave is a plant? See, one of many reasons I don't think Flat Earth Dave is a shill or a plant. First of all, he just seems like a nice guy. I mean, whereas there's other personalities, like no offense to Jaren, but there's other personalities where you could make a plausible argument that they're shill-like, if not a shill. Like, you know, on the other hand, you could say that's what makes him the perfect shill, but here's why I think he's probably not a shill. His level of output. I mean, how much would they have to pay him for him to do this many interviews? Scott Hawkins says the best plants hide in plain sight and will never be found out. That's true. That's true. But how many of them are going to work round the clock? Like the amount of money, like how many interviews has Flat Earth Dave done? I mean, just the amount of interviews this guy has done, and you know, I've corresponded with him over email, and he just seems very gracious and like an actual human being. Now you could think, okay, the perfect shill would be like that, but they're really not though. When you look at confirmed shills, they're not like that at all. So, yeah. Big Pine Sailing says there is plenty of opportunities for corruption that plants are not essentially necessary. That's also true, and also people can be paid off at a later time. So I think a lot of individuals didn't start off as shills and became shills. One of the most fascinating studies on this is former FBI head Ted Gonderson. A lot of people think he's a shill. I'm still not sure he was ever a shill at all. But, yeah, some people think he was. Scott Hawkins says confirmed shills aren't the best and have slipped up. Yeah, no, that's true, but I'm talking about their personality. Like, they weren't these super down-to-earth nice guys, for the most part. Now, Shiva's not that either, so you could try to make an argument he's a shill. He invented email, so you could say, okay, was he MK Ultra'd early in life? I mean, this MIT guy, like, MIT's a breeding ground for shills and MK Ultra subjects. So yeah, you could definitely make the case he possibly is MK Ultra controlled without his knowledge. You could definitely make a case for that. He does have some interesting personality quirks as well. Again, I'm not attributing that to MK Ultra, but apparently, I mean, I've watched quite a few videos of Shiva. Like I said, I was a pretty big fan before this interview. And I'll get to all of that in a second. He doesn't really seem to have a fractured psyche or multiple personalities like a lot of confirmed MK Ultra subjects. Seabass516 says most confirmed shills aren't part of the Brotherhood though. But again, I don't know about Dave. I just think Shiva is a UN agent the fake alt-right talked about in Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson. The movie Mel Gibson, or the Mel Gibson Illuminati interview, which we went over here on MindShock. Did you check that out? I'm still not 100% on Mel Gibson either. I mean, here's the thing though. Human nature, I'm not 100% on him being a shell, especially from that interview. Like, possibly scared. They possibly scared him out of his mind. Especially in that interview, if you haven't checked that out on MindShock. Like, all the cuts and the shiftiness that happened after those cuts. He seemed extremely afraid by the end of that interview, but not at the beginning of the interview. But anyway, yeah, I mean, people are complex. Human personalities are complex, so we shouldn't fall for these false dichotomy logical fallacies where someone's a shill or they're not a shill. Someone might have certain knowledge that makes them afraid and behave in a shill-like manner. Seabass516 says Gibson is Kabbalah worshiper, the red bracelet, they are all in Hollywood. Well, that's another interesting subject, the Kabbalah. Some people believe it's not that black and white. Like, people who practice Kabbalah could be good guys or bad guys, kind of like the occult. Just because something is occulted doesn't make it bad or good. It's been secreted. It's occulted. There's negative aspects and positive aspects. Welcome, Nominal Matari Sensei. Are you ever going to finish the Professor Dave and Witsit debate? Yeah, I'll do that next. It's just this one, like, I took a break from that, and then I had to get the whole archive up, and then someone emailed me this and put the urgency on it. The other one was already broken up. But yeah, no, I'm going to finish that one next. So that'll be the next flat Earth debate. So I just wanted to get this one in because it had a lot of attention and it was more recent. So, okay, let's address who mentioned how he starts off. South to West mentioned this. Yes. Is Shiva actually interested in a logical, intellectual, an intellectually honest discussion, a science-based, intellectually honest discussion here? And for him to come right off the bat with that and incorrectly call it an experiment, unless he's just that lazy. I mean, okay, let's give him an out here. If he's that lazy and he just saw the title of that come up, perhaps he just assumed it was an actual experiment because it's called experiment. And he's just, either he's lazy or he's so busy he didn't have time to verify. Is that possible? Let's not burn him at the stake right off the bat. Let's give him, let's play devil's advocate here. Maybe he's still going to be intellectually honest, but why would, that is a good point. Why would he automatically want to start with that unless he's seen some anti-flat earth grifter videos on how supposedly the flat earth experiment destroys flat earth? And he wants to lead with that instead of even like a basic, just a basic courtesy introduction of, oh, Flat Earth Dave, how did you come to this? How did you, like, there's not even any courtesy. He immediately wants to jump to what the anti-Flat Earth grifters are hallucinating somehow disproves Flat Earth. And again, I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue. It's just the goofs always directly jump to that.
It wasn't an experiment. It was an observation of a light in the sky. And that light in the sky is actually an impossible light that doesn't make any sense. So the question is, if you're trying to build a house, do you go and measure the ground or do you measure the sky? Right? You measure the ground. Looking up at the lights in the sky, you can, the globe model was based off of the angles of the lights in the sky. And we can get into that. But the lights in the sky make no sense. Let's get into it because I'll show you how impossible the globe is. It's totally impossible. Here's the thing. Everyone has the same story. When I was first, I was doing a conspiracy podcast and people brought up flat Earth.
Are we live? Right? Are you recording?
We're recording, sure, and I'll start wherever. So, welcome, Dr. Shiva, or I'm on your show. I'm not sure which one it is, but we're having two conversations, two grown men having a conversation about the realm that we live in. And
Dave, what do you put it up on what, YouTube or Facebook?
YouTube.
Okay.
All right.
I
normally let you. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit, so I've done a lot of interviews. I normally you put it up and then I share your version. That way you get all the new views because we have a large audience.
Doesn't matter. We're fine. You can put it up.
Yeah,
That's fine. Either way.
I don't care. I'm not monetized or anything. I normally just try to put it up. So you're brand new to this topic. I know that people have been hounding you in your chat saying, hey, have you looked into flat Earth? And you agreed to have me on. So that's awesome. Thanks for having an open mind. And
I think about a year ago, David, just to give you an update.
Yeah.
So there's two positions I have on this, right? Mm-hmm. One is people should just collectively agree on an experiment, a very detailed experiment. And then people should go do the experiment and they should accept the results of that experiment. So it should be, from a science basis, a verifiable experiment, right?
Right.
So here's one of my biggest issues with Shiva here. There's not even a willingness to just have a discussion. He immediately goes to, not only are people even going to be capable of agreeing on an experiment, but that they all have to accept the results no matter what, as if they can't do multiple different experiments, as if there's only one way to prove something. I mean, it's just so weird. I don't want to call it disingenuous per se, because, I mean, it's definitely a good idea to do that, but if he's this new, maybe he should just let Dave talk for a little bit. Like, what kind of an experiment does he mean? Like the Bedford water experiment? I mean, there's so many experiments that technically there's additional variables that aren't accounted for. So would it prove anything either way? Like, if he's not familiar, because a lot of these experiments have already been done, but he doesn't even, it's like he has no interest in having an actual good faith discussion of any kind. Like, is he not curious on how did it even come to this? Like what is going on with this topic, with this conspiracy? He immediately he takes like a third grade classroom approach where, like, let's not actually discuss anything. Let's pigeonhole one experiment only, and we all have to agree to the results. Like, there's no such thing as unknown variables. Like, you would think a man of science. And one, I mean, this is such basic science, but one experiment is never to be even accepted because it could be anomalous. Like, you never go with one. Like, you need multiple experiments to prove something, and one experiment could actually have deviating results. That's why you don't put all your eggs in one experiment basket, because for whatever reason, the construction of the experiment or the variables at play, there could be more I mean, it's like anything. There could always be, there's outliers. So you can never only have one. You need to do 100 experiments. So all of this almost feels disingenuous from Shiva. Like, why not have a good faith discussion and then come up with several different experiments? Like, none of this makes any sense. I mean, to the listeners in the chat, like, what are your thoughts on this? Because that's the first thing that kind of jumped out at me. He wants only one, as if so let me play the opposite of devil's advocate. Let me not give him the benefit of the doubt here. Is his whole intention to make Flat Earth Dave look stupid and construct an experiment he knows is not gonna prove a flat Earth, and then force Dave to accept that one experiment only? I mean, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, for a man of science to take this approach to this kind of discussion is very strange. It's just very strange. I mean, I can't really make sense of it if he's not disingenuous. If he's an honest individual having a good faith discussion, why would he choose this strategy? It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Welcome Nominal in the chat here. Kill the bank in the house. Where have you been? Billy says, feels like he wants to just belittle Dave, cuts him off, and body language seems like he thinks of Dave as a scumbag or something. Yeah, his body language looks, to me, it just looks impatient. It doesn't necessarily look standoffish, but why is he wearing, is that a leather jacket or some kind of light parka? I mean, does he not have heating where he's at? I mean, I would think a man of his accomplishments and stature, like, he's got some kind of money. Like, can he not afford heat? What's going on with Shiva Ayyadurai's, where he's streaming from? I don't know. Let's continue here.
Right. So yeah, you're
the other thing.
Go ahead.
The other thing that I've shared is that, for me, right, we know there are infinite number of things that the swarm lies about. Many things. Mm-hmm. So the issue is, we could talk about this. We could talk about a whole bunch of things. My question also, is, what do people want to do about it? You see?
Yeah. So and we're going to get into that.
To me, one has to build a bottoms-up movement of working people to address this.
Sure.
There's a lot of people grift off a whole bunch of stuff, and they have no interest in building any type of movement to get to truth, freedom, health. You see?
Okay, so now I'm not 100% sure if he's disingenuous here. If he has this image in his head that flat earthers are just these random people who just complain on YouTube, I mean, they're the ones. I mean, look at the amount of experiments people are uploading on YouTube. Experiments, observations, hot air balloon footage. They're doing all of this work to actually try to get to the truth. He's pretending they're not. So it looks like he's pissed off because of his assumption that there are no flat earthers that get out there and do experiments, like all these laser tests across large bodies of water, just the countless videos with different cameras, long range photography. Like, they're out there doing all this work, and he either assumed they're not. I mean, I'm not sure if it's disingenuous. Maybe someone he trusted told him certain things, and he did this whole interview based on those false assumptions, which is actually idiotic. I mean, if he's a smart guy, why would you ever do that? But yeah. Kill the Bank says he believes that he's smart, that Dave couldn't possibly know something he doesn't, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree there. That's probably true, but I'm not sure that he's doing this whole interview with that as his main thought, because he knows a lot of other people are going to be listening to this interview. That's why he's doing it. So I'm sure he thinks I'm sure he thinks he's way smarter than Dave. But for him, because he knows there's a lot of people that are going to watch this, and you would think he would kind of care how he came off, because right now it looks like he just built all these assumptions and is doing this entire interview based on those assumptions instead of having an honorable, good faith conversation with another human being. Because, I mean, it's okay, we could say a lot of things about Bryant Myers, but at least Bryant Myers, at least at the beginning, was good faith. I'm sure Bryant Myers thought he was way smarter than Austin Whitsitt and Flat Earth Dave, at least at the beginning of their debate, discussion, whatever you want to call it. And it was good faith. Bryant Myers engaged in good faith, at least at the beginning. At least at the beginning. Shiva's not even doing that. So it's pretty weird. Billy says, seems more combative than willing to have a discussion, as Dave suggested. Yes. He does seem very combative here. It's almost like people told him things about Dave or Flat Earthers and he just believed them. And he's going off of those impressions and assumptions instead of being a man of science. Instead of being objective, logical, and neutral going into this and being scientifically skeptical, just being curious by nature, which any scientist should be. He's being the opposite of that here.
Well, we're trying to do that. We're trying to build that movement, and they're trying everything they can to stop us. Because this is the one that breaks us free from the matrix. You can't, there's a lot of things going on in the world with child trafficking and homelessness and wars and everything else. And people say, Dave, why are you focusing on flat earth? And the reason is because if you don't know where you live, who you are, what this place is, if you don't know that you're at the center of creation, that you have great power, then you can't do anything. You're lost in space, spinning out of control, and you're powerless. People think that governments rule over them. Nothing rules over you other than God, right? And so people don't realize they have free will. People just think that they're are stuck in this slave system, and the globe is a prison for your mind, right? And think about this. When people search flat earth, they come up with this. This is stupid, okay? No flat earther thinks that earth is this, but this is what they want you to think. Like if you Google, hey, top 10 reasons the earth could be flat, Google's going to deliver you top 10 reasons the earth is a globe. Because
I still can't tell here if Shiva is actually listening or just pretending to. Seabass, I don't think Flat Earth Dave said that it was more important. He said there was all this bad stuff going on, and in order to break free from it and the control that it has over your mind, and, subvert the entire system, enabling all the evil, in his opinion, I'm guessing this, Flat Earth Dave, if you're listening, you can correct this. You can correct it. In his opinion, knowing the truth about the shape of the earth would solve a lot of those problems. Not that those other problems are more important than knowing the shape of the Earth. Scott Hawkins says, he looks like he's formulating his response already instead of listening to everything first. It's kind of hard to tell. It really is. Like, he's got a decent poker face here. This isn't like a Craig or a Soy Lodge type of goof. Like, we're dealing with an actual intelligent man here. Now, whether he's honest or dishonest or, you know, whether he's disingenuous or not sure about that. But he's definitely an intelligent individual. This is not a Craig or a Soy Lodge or even a PhD Tony. Like, he's he's not one of those goofs. This isn't goofery. Billy says, has to be uncomfortable for Dave, and applause for Dave for to keep level-headed. Yeah, Dave, Flat Earth Dave actually is pretty good in a lot of these, whether it's heated or not. Has anybody ever seen Flat Earth Dave rage quit or melt down? I don't believe I've ever seen that. Matari Sensei says, LMAO PhD Tony. Let me interject here. No offense to PhD Tony, but I actually made a collage of some of his best arguments. So let me throw that up right now, just for kicks. Or not. Why is it not? Oh, YouTube. I don't think I uploaded it on this channel, but it was on the old MindShock channel. Huh, why is it? Huh, that's so weird. It was such a funny video, too. What? This is so annoying. Why is it not? Hold on a second. Now I'm really annoyed and I really want to get it on the screen. Actually, I think I know how to do it. Just gonna have to redo the metadata. Who here has seen my PhD Tony's best arguments video? I think I can get it. It's gonna take a minute, but YouTube is really annoying me now. The more difficult it makes it, the more I need to put it on the screen. Even if it takes longer. We will not be denied. Actually, I might have another faster way. Seabass says, that could be what he's thinking, but I don't really see how knowing whether flat globe, paleo, whatever is needed to stop the situations like Franklin, Boys Town, all this from happening. I don't think he's saying it's needed. It's just, especially for a lot of the coincidence theorist bootlickers who don't even, they don't even think those are real, per se. Whereas if they knew about flat Earth, even the flat Earth theory, they might know that already. So it's kind of like a conspiracy hierarchy, a conspiracy awareness hierarchy. Give me a second here. We got to get this video up of PhD Tony's best arguments here. Oh, I actually had 2 videos of his best arguments. Okay. Is it really gonna make me re-render all of them? It's quite annoying. Quite annoying. Why does YouTube make everything so difficult? try one more thing. Just bear with me. I think Steven Seagal should moderate more of these flat earth topics. Okay, here we go. I got the first video. This is gonna work. It better work. Why is it not working? Oh man. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. One step at a time here. Okay. Okay, so I don't think I might have never released the second video, but here is the first. Alright, here we go. So these are the absolute best arguments I could find from PhD Tony.
In this on are a number of and the so well it's at a and is a no yeah and
I literally
no,
which makes sense on maybe a
no because the you and we don't that's my time.
So clearly there's a big difference amongst PhDs within quackademia. Quackademia produces quite the gamut of scientism goofs. Quite the gamut. And PhD Tony sure is on one side of that gamut. Chin Chin says, Scott Hawkins says, I'm convinced. Chin Chin says, PhD Tony has got me convinced as well. I mean, that's the best I could find. I mean, if I misrepresented him, my apologies, but that's the best I could find. That's the absolute best. Matari Sensei says his command of logic is astounding. And look at his emotional meltdowns. Like, again, look at Shiva Ayyadurai. This is an intelligent man. He's not emotionally, emotionally he doesn't appear to be emotional about any of this. So, yeah. All right, so let's continue. I just wanted to highlight the difference among PhDs and intelligent versus non-intelligent people in flat Earth debate.
Because they don't want you finding the true information of this world. You asked me before when I first got into it. I went into it with a bad attitude. I went in, I'm just going to disprove flat Earth, prove the globe, and I tried for weeks to find proof of the globe, but I couldn't. And the more I looked, the worse it got. And then I realized, oh my God, the Earth is not a globe. And then I was afraid to even talk about it because I'm like, oh my God, all of the other work I've done on all of the other deceptions is going to be discredited. But then I realized this is the truth. I have to do it. Back in 2014, when I was doing that, nobody was really open for a discussion on flat Earth. There's like, you're nuts. But now people like yourself, other people are all doing it. You had an interview with Owen Benjamin. He fought it like tooth and nail. But now he's full on. He knows we don't live on a globe, right? I mean, this is 127,000 feet up, right? Whenever we send a balloon up, the Earth is white. Okay, it's white because of the thickness of the atmosphere, right? But NASA shows us these color graphic pictures of Earth. They're in Technicolor, right? Look at this light here. It's a local light. It's lighting up this area right here, right? It's darker over here because this is a local light. What is it? We don't know, right? But it's a local light for sure. It can be proven that. And you know, we live on this realm. Now, we're going to be talking about where we live in this incredibly large system. And we live on this dielectric plane inside a toroidal field, right? And so we're going to be talking about 1% of what this world is. And that's where we live, on the 1%, the dielectric plane. The Earth is supposedly rotating at 1,000 miles an hour below this balloon, right? 1,000 miles an hour to the east. This balloon is disconnected from the Earth. It's nearly in space, if that's a real thing. And when it came down, it landed east of where it took off. It should have landed, it was up for over 3.5 hours. It should have landed 3,000 miles out west in the ocean.
What balloon are you talking about, Dave?
This shot right here is just a weather balloon. Went up to 100.
Yeah, so let's just go to,
20,000 feet.
Let's take time out here. Let's just take first principles. Okay.
Yep.
Let's just go to very simple first principles.
Sure.
Okay. And let's go to the basic scientific method.
So, again, to me, this just screams cowardice. I mean, this is not stupidity. This is not goofery. This isn't PhD Tony or Soy Lodge or Craig of Fight the Flat Earth or Simon Dan or Professor Dave. This isn't, or that Dave McKeegan goof. This isn't vegetative goofery, which we usually see in Flat Earth debate. This is an intelligent man. And this just looks like pure, unadulterated cowardice. It's almost like he's terrified to even engage with anything Flat Earth Dave is saying. Now, the cause of the terror, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's he doesn't wanna fumble arguing points against a flat earther, like Flat Earth Dave. I'm not sure if it's he's terrified of looking bad and fumbling here, or if it's just sheer terror in his own mind of what if some of these basics aren't actually true? Like, what if he was lied to? What if he took that on faith? A man of this stature with this kind of ego, you know, a man who claims he's invented email. I mean, I think he kind of did, at least some version of email. Could he handle not knowing the shape of the Earth? So is this terror not even directed at Flat Earth Dave? But I just don't see anything other than cowardice here. Because what does the scientific method have to do with what it looks like, what this footage looks like on a hot air balloon? What is first principles of the scientific method have to do with if there's a claimed curvature and it's not actually there? Now, it's nice, obviously it's nice to know the scientific method. I mean, it's the bedrock of actual real science. But you have to actually get curious before you even use it, right? You have to have some kind of honest curiosity. Otherwise, what is the use for it? The scientific method's a tool. It's like a hammer. I talk about this all the time. You can use it correctly or incorrectly. But if you're not even interested in building a house, like, you wouldn't even hold a hammer for any purpose. So where's the honest curiosity to even utilize the scientific method? Like, where is that? So, again, just to make this easy, let me put up the preschool, kindergarten level definitions here so we can all follow. I am kind of curious, is it possible that Shiva gets this wrong in his sheer terror of engaging? So again, scientific method, this is kindergarten level here. So I'm not putting up anything difficult. I don't know if Tsutsaka's here, but hopefully even he can keep up with this scientific method. We all know Craig can't. We all know Craig of Fight the Flat Earth. He can't even keep up with the preschool level here. I mean, this is preschool through kindergarten. So here's the actual chart. This is an actual preschool chart. I know it says kindergarten here. Let me bring up. Let me get the receipts here. I know there's people gonna say this is kindergarten level. Now I want to set the record straight here. We're using a preschool chart here. This is not even kindergarten level. Just give me a second. Let me get the receipt up here. Because I actually got this chart from preschool teaching materials here. Okay, here we go. earlylearningideas.com, the scientific method for preschool kids. This is not even kindergarten level. The one all the way on the right, that's from a kindergarten one. But this one right here is preschool level. So, let's see if Shiva Ayyadurai has this straight. Chin Chin saying, yeah, him avoiding the discussion of the baseline observations while trying to touch base is ironic. Exactly. Is he aware of the irony? Is he just that disingenuous he doesn't care? Oh man. All right. Let's continue here. Let's see, because I'm curious as to what he's gonna say about this. And he's just so cowardly avoiding any real discussion. Like, it's so obvious. Like, he's that terrified of losing argument points to Flat Earth Dave.
So let's review what the scientific method is. What is the scientific method?
Observable, repeatable, testable, with an independent variable and a fixed variable. Something that's done in nature.
No, that's not what the scientific method. Let's just follow what is the scientific method. What's the first step in the scientific method?
You tell me where you want to go with this.
Well, I think we need to follow the framework, what we're going to use to get to truth.
Sure.
So the scientific method, because otherwise it's just everyone's just talking over each other.
Sure.
The scientific method says first you come up with a hypothesis.
Okay. I'm still not gonna say he's stupid here. Even though it is interesting that a guy with all of these degrees and an MIT PhD doesn't even know the scientific method. Hypothesis is not step one. Hypothesis, I've seen it cited as step 2 before. Here it's cited as step 3. But either way, it's never step 1. Because you can't come up with a hypothesis about something if you don't even know what you're going to come up with a hypothesis about. So his timeout, I mean, he needs a timeout here to review the scientific method. Because, I mean, you know what's also kind of ironic? He's so terrified of looking stupid that he made himself look even more stupid. Because he was so terrified of honestly engaging with Dave in any kind of discussion that he wanted to shift the conversation. He wanted to, this is literally a diversion logical fallacy. It is literally textbook diversion fallacy. He wanted to diversion fallacy his way into something that he's comfortable with, but he probably hasn't taught the scientific method in quite some time. I mean, a lot of high-level people, and regardless of what field. I mean, if you take any field at the highest level, some of the guys actually did forget, you know, what you would learn in year one, because they don't necessarily, like, even if they use it, they might not be able to recite it off the bat. It becomes almost like muscle memory, where, you know, if he's laying out some paperwork, it's like autopilot stuff. So when he actually stops to think about it, like right now, he got it wrong, and this was all because he was so terrified of looking stupid, he just made himself look even more stupid. I mean, he doesn't even know the first step in the scientific method. I mean, this is sad. This is sad. In most places, it's step 3. So this is just Education 101. I don't know, I forgot what level this is. This might be K through 12, so this might be all the way through high school. So, or it's step 2 here. On some charts, it's step 3. But it's never step 1, because you cannot construct a hypothesis without observation. So he is so completely wrong. Now, yes, the scientific method can be defined where, you know, the observation, some of them kind of fuse observation and questioning together. But either way, the hypothesis is never first. It would either be second or third, depending on how you're breaking up the scientific method. So this is not a good look for Shiva. So again, it's kind of ironic. It's so ironic that in trying not to look stupid, he made himself look even more stupid. Because what are you constructing a hypothesis about? You need to know what you're constructing the hypothesis about before you construct a hypothesis. I mean, this is just these are such obvious basics. Like, I would expect, and obviously, you know, goofs like Craig, they're so vegetative, they think observations are the experiment itself. But here, like, I would expect goofs like Craig, Sartain, or all those goofs to not know what the scientific method is. But a guy like and some of those goofs even pretend it's not important. Here, Shiva knows how important it is, but he doesn't actually know the steps. Not a good look for Shiva.
Step 1.
Sure.
You can have a hypothesis that the Earth is round, or the Earth is flat, or the Earth is whatever, you know, multidimensional. Okay.
You know what else is really funny is that Dave was actually following the scientific method, because he's actually talking about the observations from the balloon. Shiva interrupted him to say, let's go to the scientific method. Flat Earth Dave was already on it. He was following it more than Shiva. I mean, in his cowardice. I mean, see, this is the thing. Again, I'm not going to call him stupid. I do not think Shiva Ayyadurai is stupid. He's probably one of the most intelligent people in the West. I mean, he's very, very intelligent. Now, obviously, intelligent people have blind spots. I did a whole podcast on that. Even Ben Shapiro haters. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's got a lot of blind spots, though. Hold the line in the chat here. Oh, snap, they got Shiva to debate Flat Earth. No, but this is what's funny. Flat Earth Dave was actually following the scientific method. He was talking about the observations. Shiva, with his hubris, this is a good lesson in hubris for Shiva. Because Shiva just assumed he was so much smarter than Dave. And he's so much smarter than pretty much everybody, which is kind of true. I don't even think Flat Earth Dave would say he's smarter than Shiva. That doesn't make anybody wrong or right about something, necessarily, obviously. Like, Flat Earth Dave I don't think he would consider himself the super genius of any kind that could invent email and do all these super genius things. But what's funny is, like, a lot of really intelligent people, they do have blind spots, and a lot of times those blind spots are basics. So Flat Earth Dave was following the scientific method more than Shiva. Shiva interrupts him with so much hubris. He calls time out, and in his hubris, he didn't even recall the scientific method correctly, something preschoolers can do with these preschool worksheets. I mean, again, I'm not trying to make Shiva look bad or anything, but I just wanted these preschool charts on the screen just so everybody could understand what's going on here psychologically. I don't think this is sheer goofery. I think this is just plain old cowardice and hubris.
Not Earth, it's maybe 15th dimensional, whatever that is, okay? Then the next thing you do, you agree that you're going to do an experiment.
Sure.
The methodology of an experiment, step 2.
So another is somebody, Flat Earth Dave, I know he's really polite. He should have called time out on Shiva here. Why are you even doing a hypothesis or an experiment if you haven't made observations that maybe match or don't match and you haven't questioned something? Because you need to observe and question in order to even necessitate a hypothesis or experiment. Like, because why would you be even hypothesizing or experimenting if everything matches? So what Shiva was too cowardly to even have a good faith discussion about, what are the observations? Because he's advocating for the scientific method while not following it. Flat Earth Dave here wants to talk about some observations. He wants to engage with the first step of the scientific method. But Shiva presupposed and assumed Flat Earth Dave was so stupid and he was so smart. He presupposed that he's so smart, there's no way he could get the scientific method wrong, so he's just talking really quick and really fast, trying not to make himself look stupid, while making himself look even stupider than if he had just decided to have a good faith discussion. The irony here is just absolutely off the charts. And another issue with the experiment, again, if the variables, if you can't, I also don't hear him talking about the independent and dependent variable. Because is it even possible to construct a conclusive experiment without being a third party? Like, for example, if you want to take a photo of the Earth, how far away do you need to get? Like, you want to take a photo of the Earth and the Moon and Mars, because let's say, you know, if you're trying to prove the heliocentric model correct, how far back do you need to go? Is it even feasible? Is it even regardless of whether it's true or untrue? If you don't even know if it's feasible, like how would this even be done? But again, Shiva is so lost here in his cowardice. He's refusing to do step 1 of the scientific method, the observations. He's refusing to observe and question. He's refusing to engage with what would necessitate a hypothesis in the first place. It looks like he's so concerned with making Flat Earth Dave look stupid and showing off that he doesn't even realize he doesn't have the scientific method correct.
Mm-hmm.
Then you gather data from that experiment.
Sure.
Okay, and you agree what data you're going to gather.
Sure. So
once that's step 3 in the scientific method. Once you gather that data, you organize that data, and then you produce a model from that data, what that data gives.
Sure.
I mean, I just really can't figure out Shiva here. It's almost like he doesn't know they're talking about flat Earth or globe Earth or whatever, shape of the Earth. Like, how would a single experiment even produce enough data to have a complete model of any kind. You'd have to do dozens and dozens of experiments. And how would the establishment would never accept the results of the experiment anyway. Again, somebody should call timeout on Shiva again, because if you have scientism priests trying to do an experiment utilizing, for example, Einstein's relativity, that's going to be an issue. Because if he's not aware of the fraud of Einstein's relativity and the fraud in physics and science over the past century, I mean, he's clearly aware of all the fraud in modern times with like GMOs and all the stuff that he's involved with. He's aware of that. But is he aware of the fraud in physics itself? Einstein, Tesla, all that came before. Is he not aware of all of the countless experiments already done, like, for example, to prove the motion of the Earth? Perhaps Flat Earth Dave should have taken a page out of Austin Witz's book, and even my own book. I think was the first person talking about how geocentrism should be the starting point, not flat Earth. Because if the Earth isn't spinning, that's an issue. And he could have kind of kept Shiva from the cowardice, because there's already been tons of experiments regarding whether the Earth is moving or not. And obviously how feasible and reliable those experiments are in the first place. But then at least Shiva wouldn't be able to cower away like he's doing now.
If that data matches your hypothesis, you say, great, I believe I have something here that's true.
All right, let's do it. I have a
Let me
one right
finish.
here.
Let's just go through, because a lot of people didn't learn this in third grade.
Yeah.
And I don't think the educational system teaches this anymore.
Third grade? These are preschool. There's a preschool and a kindergarten chart of the scientific method on the screen right now, and Shiva doesn't even know it. Now, I'm pretty sure Shiva did learn it. And I don't know how much I would say they still teach it. They probably spend less time on it than, gender studies at this point. But I would think they still teach it. I mean, there's definitely teaching resources online, like the ones I have on the screen, that still go over it. And I believe the scientific method breakdown on the top left is a K through 12 breakdown. So I believe that's the same one they used through 12th grade. The one that Shiva got completely wrong. So, yeah, I mean, just the irony here off the chart. You can see how smug and arrogant Shiva is. It's like Shiva, his hubris is so insane, he didn't even consider the possibility that he could get it wrong, which is why he was so cavalier with the way he just spit it out, with no concern to whether or not it was accurate or not, because in his egotistical mind, he cannot conceive of a reality where he got it wrong, and Flat Earth Dave is on the right track, and he's on the wrong track with it. Because Flat Earth Dave was talking about the observations, which is step one, and that's what Shiva cowered away from and continues to cower away from.
And then if you prove that your data and that model matches your hypothesis, then you would do another experiment.
Correct.
And you iterate over and over and over again.
Correct.
And if you say that it's reproducing, and if you say at this point in time, based on the data we have a law that the Earth is XYZ. Okay.
Wait, how would that be a law? I mean, I guess it depends on what, like, how it would be defined. I suppose you can I mean, it depends on the definition. I mean, a scientific law, for example, is that dense objects fall down. So the law isn't that mass attracts mass. That's not the law. That's the theory. The law is the object falling. A lot of people don't understand that difference. They hallucinate that the theory must be true because of the law. The law doesn't give you a reason. A scientific law is simply something that always happens. So it's, I mean, it can be described many different ways, but basically a phenomena that always happens. And that's why it's called the law, because it's definite. Obviously based on, you know, the variables. If you're in a vacuum or, you know, you're doing some kind of electrostatic manipulation. But basically, in whatever environment, in your defined environment, if something always happens, it's a law. That doesn't tell you why it happens. That would be the theories behind it. So, I'm not sure you would use a law to describe the shape of the Earth. Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard that referred to in academia by anybody. For example, you have the geocentric theory or heliocentric theory. So, Eric Emin in the chat. Get him, Bruce. Couldn't believe Shiva. Yeah, this is tough. This is really tough to watch. Flat Bob says, I didn't know who Shiva was before this podcast. I'll now never see him as anything other than a narcissistic prick. He's actually really smart. How many times have I said that about somebody? Shiva is actually really smart. This just illustrates blind spots and hubris. Like, his hubris is so off the charts. Unlike other goofs, like, look at the hubris of, for example, Craig of Fight the Flat Earth. That's undeserved hubris. Because Craig, I mean, he's practically a vegetable. You know, or a PhD Tony. I mean, these are borderline vegetables with hubris. Shiva actually earned a lot of his hubris because he actually really is smart. I mean, this is a really smart guy. I know it doesn't look like it here because his hubris has consumed him. And this is why the ancient Greeks, if they were ancient, whatever, this is why a lot of their myths and legends, they always had these lessons about hubris. The pride cometh before the fall. And it doesn't matter how smart you are, Shiva obviously very smart, your hubris can be your downfall. Chin Chin says, this one threw me off because when I saw the thumbnail and read the title on Dave's channel, I was like, hell yeah, a good convo finally, yet I was utterly disappointed. Yeah, I mean, I will say this definitely wasn't the usual goofery, though. Like, this was cowardice instead of goofery. We haven't seen it quite done like this before. But, yeah, I mean, let's continue. I mean, this is kind of painful. I mean, I wonder if Shiva watches this with these preschool scientific method charts. Like, how did he get the scientific method wrong? I mean, it's like, this is just such a great lesson in hubris. Like, it's actually mind-shocking that a man, like, see, again, with Craig, a Fight the Flat Earth, or all these other goofs, you're almost expecting them to get it wrong and not know what it is. But it's actually kind of shocking that Shiva got this wrong, isn't it? Chin Chin says, I really hope this clip reaches him. Well, he said he would do a follow-up with Dave, so hopefully Dave shows this to him.
Okay.
Got it.
So let me give you an example just to be, so let's just set the framework of science here. And or we agree the framework's not true. First, in biological and engineering systems, you manipulate a system of some kind, then you measure the data from that system, and then you mine that data, and then you model it.
Like shooting a laser across a lake or a frozen lake, like doing all of this long-range photography in different atmospheric conditions, all this stuff which has already been done, like the Michelson-Morley experiment. I mean, all this stuff that has already been done. Shiva really should talk to Austin Whitsitt, particularly about ether. That'll be an interesting convo, because Austin wouldn't let him get away with this. Flat Earth Dave is just too nice of a guy. Also, Shiva's really high profile. I mean, he's one of the most high profile guys I think Dave has talked to, other than Alex Jones. Shiva is really high profile, especially within the within the scientific community specifically. Not the physics community, but he's done a lot of stuff with GMOs, and again, he was very vocal regarding the 2020 event and all that entailed. Like, you know, he's a very intelligent guy. And so yeah, this Dave might just, you know, be giving him extra respect because of how high profile he is. But I don't think Austin would let him get away with any of this. He would have probably... I wonder, how does everybody think this conversation would go? As soon as Shiva brought up that step one is hypothesis, Austin would have tore him apart. How would Shiva have responded when it was pointed out? I mean, and this whole thing is almost hilarious because there's hot air balloon footage. There's hot air balloon footage right on the screen in front of him, and he's just refusing to address the observation. Step one in the scientific method. Now, obviously, it doesn't necessarily prove anything, but he's refusing to even address step one. He's so enamored with the construction of an experiment, which he didn't even go into the dependent, independent variable, and control. He didn't even go into that. So he's not even being that accurate. Bubs in the chat says, Shiva's work absolutely amazing, and yet, once again, the shape of the Earth derails and triggers even the best of... I don't think he's emotionally triggered, though. Like, he's relatively calm. I think this is cowardice. Because he's so afraid to look bad. I mean, he's just so terrified to look bad.
It's called the 4 M's.
Okay.
So manipulate, measure, mine, and model. If the model matches your hypothesis, you continue. If it doesn't, you have to throw away your hypothesis was false. It doesn't matter whether you're wearing a red hat, a blue hat, doesn't matter how wealthy you are, it doesn't matter if you're good looking or not, you're just fucking wrong.
Oh man, this is painful. I might have to walk back my statement on how smart Shiva is. Oh man, this is painful. So, obviously that was all appeal to humor fallacy, diversion logical fallacy, red herring logical fallacy. It doesn't mean you're wrong, and you don't have to throw away your hypothesis. It could mean the experiment was incorrectly constructed, and you could still be right. So, it's the same thing with logical fallacies. You can commit a fallacy and still be right. It doesn't mean you're wrong. Same thing with experiments. Unless you've truly accurately defined... I mean, the other main issue, I talk about this all the time, you're doing an experiment with fallible human technology. Whether it's even laser... I mean, I know they're pretty accurate, and, you know, you can kind of calculate the accuracy within the percent error, but you might be wrong about that calculation, right? According to Shiva, no. According to Shiva, it means you're expletive wrong. I mean, now we've moved into goofery. Now we have moved into goofery. I thought he could be contained to just pure cowardice. But we have moved into goofery.
Yep.
So,
I got one for you. I have one for you. An example.
No, but wait. Do you agree this is a scientific?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Okay. So now if someone says the earth is round, okay,
Yep.
or someone says the earth is flat, they have to propose an experiment
Let's do it.
that everyone agrees to. Okay.
Flat Earth Dave's just way too nice here. First of all, right here's the perfect opportunity for Dave to have asked, so what are these experiments that proved the Earth was a globe? Can you give them to me? Because I wonder what Shiva would say. And if he refused to answer in a cowardly fashion, then I'd have to ask, well, first of all, Shiva, are you a flat earther? Are you a flat earther or a globe earther? And then if Shiva refused to answer, because I'm trying to think how this would play out if Shiva wasn't too cowardly to have a real conversation. Like, if he wasn't a coward, how would this play out? Because I'm actually curious, because this is almost like a complete cheat. Like, we were cheated out of an actual discussion. Like, this is supposed to be a discussion about a flat earth, not a discussion about Shiva's incorrect recollection of what the scientific method is. Because that's what it turned into. Oh, man. How is Shiva gonna live this down? I mean, this is gonna be tough. Like, anybody that watches, like again, I'm not claiming the earth is flat. I'm not a flat earther. I don't know if I could claim definitively it's a globe either, but let's say, like, even really smart globe earthers, how are they going to view this? Because I don't know if I've ever seen a globe earther be this cowardly, either intelligent or not, as to actually avoid even discussing the shape of the earth. Because notice how Shiva, he's been so cowardly, he hasn't even spent a single second discussing the actual shape of the earth. Seabass516 says, he might be nice, but he also did challenge him to any experiment anytime would prove flat earth. Let's do it. It's almost like Shiva didn't hear him. I mean, I don't know. This is weird. This is so weird. Hold the Line says, so when they found out gravity didn't match the amount of mass in the universe, question. Yeah, they didn't throw out the theory. I would have thrown that in his face as well. I mean, we really needed Austin on this one. We really needed Austin here. Because instead of throwing out the theory, they just made up dark matter and all this other stuff to make it fit. The post hoc logical fallacy, the reverse engineering fallacy, where you just fit everything after the fact to make it work even if it doesn't. I mean, that's what special relativity was in relation to relativity. They had to make it specially. Scott Hawkins says, goofery. You love to hate to see it. Yeah, we've entered goofery land. I really didn't think Shiva would, though. I really didn't think he would. I mean, like I said, I skipped through it a little bit, and I saw mostly cowardice. But this is kind of disappointing. This is pretty disappointing.
Okay. I got it.
And then they go. So before we go there was a recent experiment that was done in Antarctica, right?
It was not an experiment. It was an observation of a light in the sky under very sketchy circumstances. Let me show you an experiment.
No, but that too. But Dave, that is an experiment because
it's not.
It is. An experiment is where you propose, even how you propose to observe data.
What? Now Shiva's just making a fool of himself. An experiment is not how you propose to observe data. What is he smoking? Does he look high to anybody? I don't know. Would that explain it? I mean, this guy's mentally gone at this point. It looks like he was checked out before he even started. Like, how is he going to live this down? An experiment is not how you propose to observe data. The observation comes first. Then you need to clearly delineate your variables with controls to exercise the experiment. It could still be wrong, but I mean, you know, that's the methodology. Not all experiments are equal. Not all experiments are equally valid or accurate. Then you have to analyze and make conclusions after the experiment. So a proposition of an observation is not the experiment itself. I mean, wow. Does anybody think Shiva actually watched this back? Oh man, I would love to see a video of Shiva's face watching not only, well, ideally I'd like to see it watching just the original interview back with Dave, just to see his reaction, and then also watching this. Because I really want to see the reaction here. Heracles says, isn't he a mathematician? He's a lot of doctors. I mean, this guy's highly intelligent in many different areas. Engineering, is it engineering, medicine, and math? And possibly, let me get all of his credentials here. I mean, it's a lot. Like, this is one of the few smart guys Quackademia has actually produced. There's not many of them. There's not many of them. So he's got 4 degrees from MIT bioengineering. Let's see what are all of them. And he also was one of the guys. He also supposedly invented email. I think he actually did. Even though there was another guy who also invented it independently around the same time. So computer science, systems biology. Wait, you guys are not going to believe this. You guys are not going to believe... Oh, man. Alright, hold on. I have to put this on the screen. Oh, this is who his partner was for a number of years. For those that don't know. I don't know why I find this so funny. Who recognizes this woman here? Who recognizes this woman on the screen? Oh, some people who don't know who this is. Come on, we got no 90s people in the house? This is Fran Dresser, the nanny. I don't know why I find this hilarious, but oh man. Wow. Wow. So after spending a few years with her, did her laugh cause him to forget the scientific method? Is that what happened? Did Fran Dresser cause Shiva Ayyadurai, a once brilliant man, to forget what the scientific method was? Oh man, only on MindShock, people, where we uncover it all. Hold the Line says that was another red flag for me. Pinto Sack said she really lowered the bar there. Chin Chin says, yes, that's exactly it, Bruce. Flap Bob says, keywords, once brilliant man. Yeah. Yeah, Hold the Line says, I think he actually holds the copyright to email, won it in a court battle. Now, let me confirm that. Yeah, there was something with that. Ayyudaria also sued Gawker and TechDirt for defamation for disputing his account for inventing email. Both those lawsuits were settled. Okay, so he's from New Jersey, like Daniel LaRusso. Yeah, in 1982, he registered the copyright for the source code and user documentation for email. So his undergrad in MIT was electrical engineering and computer science. Masters in visual studies from MIT Media Laboratory on scientific visualization. Then he has another master's in mechanical engineering from MIT. Then he also has a PhD in biological engineering in systems biology. Okay. He also got the Fulbright U.S. Student Program grant to study the integration of Siddha, a system of traditional medicine developed in South India. Yeah, I mean, he was definitely a brilliant man at one point. Now, so okay, was there some kind of mass MK Ultra op where they incepted Fran Dresser into his mind and then through some kind of she was his handler. She was his MK Ultra handler. And she psyoped the brilliance out of his mind. Is that what happened? Hold the Line says, allegedly wrote the code when he was 13. Yeah. Pinto Sack says, isn't Shiva one of the Hindu gods? Yeah, I think it's a pretty popular name in India, though. But yeah, Shiva the Destroyer. Ivan Mecton says he hides it well. Man, this is crazy. This is literally the last person, because I've watched the TV show. Can you imagine? Like, think back, who's ever watched the Nanny TV show? Just imagine, like, this actress, she ends up with Shiva Ayyadurai. I don't know, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Also, for those that haven't seen was it on the Christmas episodes? We went over my favorite Christmas movie, which is Santa's Sleigh with Bill Goldberg, and she's in that as well. Just another coincidence. All right, well, let's get back to business here. Oh, man. That was funny. Now, if you had told me to guess who his partner was, I mean, that would not even make the list. So apparently they were partners from 2014 to 2016. Interesting. Then Trump gets into office and they're no longer together? I don't know. What happened there? Because she's like a staunch Democrat, like most of these woke actor goofs. And he's a staunch Republican. So that's kind of interesting. Although apparently he was an independent before 2020. Although as soon as Trump gets into office, Fran Dresser, he's no longer with Fran Dresser. Like, how does a guy like this end up with Fran Drescher for however period of time? I mean, that's just... Does anybody find that weird? All right, let's get back to business.
Is an experiment, okay? You're saying, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to collect this data, and then I'm going to do this, this, and this to mine that data to model it.
Right.
So I haven't even looked into the math of this or any of this. You know, I have 4 engineering degrees, right? And this is what we do. Engineers can't lie like scientists can. Engineers have to build stuff that works.
Yep.
And so we have to live with the reality of natural laws. Otherwise, you can say all the shit you want, but if something you build doesn't work, it falls out of the sky.
Right.
So if you go...
I think that was another dig at Flat Earth Dave attempting to say that an airplane would fall out of the sky if you didn't know the shape of the Earth. Because obviously the shape of the Earth has really nothing to do with the aerodynamics of an airplane. I mean, even according to the official narrative, like, let's say hot air balloons were around in a time where some people thought the Earth was, I mean, depending on which historical narrative you're going by, but various airships, Vimana of ancient India, I mean, you even had the Mayans allegedly had, like, aircraft or whatever. I mean, do you really need to know the shape? I mean, they all had flat Earth cosmologies, but regardless of what the shape of the Earth is, do you need to know that to build an airplane? And why would it fall out of the sky if you got the shape of the Earth wrong? So that's obviously an incongruent argument logical fallacy, and also a divergent logical fallacy, and an appeal to extremes logical fallacy, and a false dichotomy logical fallacy, because, again, that's not even true. So we are firmly in the goofery now. So it's not just cowardice, a lot of goofery here. Lot of goofery. Hold the Line says, is that why they don't calculate curvatures? Flat Bob says, what do you build that requires you to account for 8 inches per mile squared? Pinto Sack says, appeal to authority. The argument wasn't specific enough for the authority. Because he's kind of saying the scientific authority can lie, but the engineering authority can't. But it's not really appeal to authority because it's an incongruent argument. Because the mechanical engineers aren't theorizing. Like, if you're building something according to certain specifications, you don't need to know. I mean, look, again, all of these ancient civilizations built all of these incredible structures. So supposedly they had flat earth cosmologies according to the mainstream narrative, but again, you wouldn't need to know that. So it's more of an incongruent argument.
Go to the experiment that was done, and I believe some non-flat earther and a flat earther was involved in that. Can you describe what they agreed to do?
Well, I'd rather talk about the shape of the Earth than the lights in the sky that nobody knows what they are or how far they are.
No, but just to educate people, some guy agreed to do this experiment with this guy, right?
No, they did not. No one agreed to do an experiment. They agreed to go make an observation of the sky and see what it told us.
Right, but that's an experiment, Dave.
Well, it's not, because the lights in the sky do not dictate the shape of the floor. Like, look up at the lights in your ceiling and tell me if they tell you what shape your floor is. Here's an experiment. Let me show you an experiment.
Let's not talk, Dave. Let's not talk analogies, because analogies in science don't work. Let's talk.
Wow, I didn't think he could lower the bar anymore. Analogies in science don't work? Of course they work. If it's a scientific analogy, if it's an analogy that matches scientific concepts, of course it works. If the scientific method's like a hammer, science is like a hammer. You can wield it correctly or incorrectly. You don't say the hammer says. The hammer can nail a nail into wood, or it can hit somebody head and kill them. Like, you could wield it in different ways. Of course analogies can work with science. So does he not know what an analogy is? So now he's stacking false premise logical fallacies, false dichotomy logical fallacies, hasty generalization logical fallacies. I mean, he's firmly in goofland now. And so he was trying to divert. What did they agree upon? What does their agreement have to do with anything? Does the experiment have an independent variable, a dependent variable, and a control? What people agree with has, I mean, these are objective aspects. These are the objective variables that need to be defined for the objective definitions of the scientific method, which he doesn't even know. He got all that wrong. I mean, wow. I mean, this is terrible. I mean, this is really terrible. Pinto Sack says, is Shiva wearing Michael J. Fox's jacket from Back to the Future too? Christopher Allen, Craig's logic? Nah, he's not anywhere near as dumb as Craig. Craig, I mean, we had to coin the Bigfoot mailbox fallacy for Craig. At least Shiva seems to be obsessing over what people agreed upon into the actual definitions of what an experiment is. Because how would the movement of the sun prove anything about anything? I mean, you could have multiple different theories. I mean, how are you going to verify this? Like, what's the control you're measuring against? Eric Iman says he knew Dave made a great point. Yeah, it could have been damage control spin. And again, ironically, he's so terrified of looking dumb, he's making himself look even dumber.
So I got you. So let me show you an experiment right here. If something doesn't curve, then it's what?
What do you mean?
If something does not curve, then it's flat.
Well, you have to define what curvature.
If something has no curvature, then it's flat. Okay. Here is a lake, right? And we got a camera on a frozen lake. So large bodies of water at rest lie flat. When
I can't make out. No, Dave, stop. I don't know what you're showing me here.
I'm going to show you. You have to give me time to show you.
No, but what I'm saying is I haven't seen this experiment you're showing me.
But I'm going to show you, and then you can verify everything.
This reminds me of Bryant Myers. I'll look at it later. Well, send it to me. I won't look at it right now. I'll look at it later. Shiva is so cowardly. He can't even engage in a hypothetical. Like, let's assume what Dave is showing him is not accurate. Can he at least be intellectually honest enough to say, okay, let me assume what you're saying is true. What would that mean? So if it's true, does it mean something? Does it falsify something? But if he's that intellectually honest, he can't even engage in a hypothetical? Like, some people, like, within the field of psychology, a lot of debaters, I know Andrew Wilson does that. Like, he asks people, well, if you didn't have breakfast this morning, how would you feel? And if they can't really answer that hypothetical, he doesn't even really engage with them. So if Shiva Ayyadurai is not even capable of of just contemplating a hypothetical. I mean, there have been dumb people that have engaged in debates. They were still able to say, okay, well, I didn't verify what you said is true, but if it's true, then yes, that would mean this or that. But if he's not even capable of doing that, I mean, that's just sad. That's just, I mean, that's just sad. Man, I don't know how long I can last here. We're gonna have to split this up in parts. Oh man, Shiva has disappointed.
Right? And there's tons of videos, so you don't have to go and do it yourself, but you can go do it yourself.
Well, what I'm saying, Dave, time out.
Yeah.
Okay. We agree on a scientific method. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, you've done this with a lot of people. That's great. Okay. I want you to sort of just clean the slate. Okay. Yep. And just think in a very clean way. You're talking to an engineer.
Yep.
Who actually has to build stuff and who knows laws. Okay.
Right.
I do. All right. So let's take a clean sheet of paper. We agree on the scientific method. Okay.
Yep. So let me show you my scientific experiment right here. Actual measurements.
So first, your hypothesis is what in this?
If Shiva, see again, Dave's too nice here, but if Shiva's not being disingenuous, my question right here would be, okay, that's excellent. Let's go blank piece of paper. What is your hypothesis, Shiva? Do you actually believe the Earth is a globe? If so, what experiments proved it? Because if he was intellectually honest, he would be able to answer that. But I don't know, maybe Shiva's a flat earther, who knows?
The hypothesis is if the Earth is a globe at the size that they tell us, it has a curvature rate. We know what that rate is based on the Pythagorean theorem, and the best formula.
But let's just stop right there. Which are you talking about? So there is the center of this circle. There's a
radius.
Solid. There's mantle and there's a solid mass.
Wait, I thought we were going blank sheet of paper. Where did this mantle come from? Where did this mantle come from? I thought we were going blank sheet. So there's nothing on the sheet, and now there's a mantle? Oh man, this is getting really painful. Like I said, I was a fan of Shiva Ayyadurai. I mean, this was a formerly brilliant man. I mean, pre-Fran Drescher. I mean, even post, because in 2020, I mean, 2019, 2021, I mean, he was saying a lot of really intelligent things. Chin Chin says, Shiva brought a crayon box for the blank sheet. No, I mean, where did the mantle come from, though? He just said, pause, time out. Dave should be calling time out on Shiva. Time out. Where did this magical mantle come from? Where are these scientific experiments with independent, dependent variables and controls demonstrating the mantle? So Shiva asked which curve? So what curve does he think? So he asked Dave, which curve are you talking about? So how many curves could there be? So he thinks Dave, does he really think Dave is trying to measure some kind of mantle? I mean, or because Flat Earth Dave is obviously talking about the surface of the Earth. Why is Shiva asking which curve? And why is he talking about the mantle? Some alleged mantle. Again, I'm not saying it's true or untrue, but he just said he wanted to go blank sheet. And now he's talking about a mantle and multiple curves? Oh, man. This is tough. This is tough. Oh, man. I was not prepared for this level of gophery. Like I said, the cowardice, I wasn't really thinking he was going to be cowardly either, but, I mean, I wasn't as shocked about the cowardice as I am about the gophery here. Pinto Sack asked Bruce, why did you like this guy before? Do you not know who he is? He was calling out all of the, what should we call them, issues with the medical event of 2020, etc. Oh, okay. Yeah, he also spoke out pretty hardcore against GMOs. Like, he's one of the biggest anti-GMO guys there are, and he published all this scientific literature on how corrupt the scientism establishment is with all their false studies on GMOs, etc. Like, he actually was using real science to expose the scientism cultists and the corrupt pushing GMOs, as well as many other things. So, I mean, he's been at the forefront of exposing corruption within that area. So he's done a lot of good for mankind. He also invented email. I mean, he's a really smart guy, or was. I mean, I don't know. Fran Drescher must have done a number on this guy. Oh, man. Oh, man. There's only so much gophery I can take. I definitely need a break. This is going to have to be a multi-parter, because I just, honestly, I need a break now. This guy this guy wanted to go blank. So he said, he's so egotistical, he tells Dave, you're talking to an engineer. You're talking to an engineer. The engineer says, oh, let's go blank sheet. Oh, now there's a curve of a mantle. When did that appear on the sheet? when did the mantle get onto a blank sheet? He can't even get the scientific method correct. Oh, man. All right, so we're going to have to continue this one. I mean, I can't do it, man. I can't do it in one sitting. Apologies, people. There's only so much gophery a mere mortal can take. Hope you guys enjoyed another edition of the MindShock channel here on the Bruce McGuire channel. Bruce McGuire channel, home of MindShock. Plenty more to come. You want to help support the channel? Help logic and reason return to a world where it's quickly going extinct, even amongst MIT engineers. You can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you're subscribed. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.